Alex Belfield.
And I'm so thrilled to be talking to James Dreyfus. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
It's nice to have you in, because the last time I saw you, you were in The Producers, which is, without question, my favourite musical ever, I think, because it's funny all the way through. But I presume being funny every night is somewhat draining when you're actually in it.
Yeah, well, it is, especially for a year. I was doing it for a year, and I think being funny the same every night is very different. But, different crowds bring different responses. So sometimes when they didn't find it funny, I expect we were incredibly unfunny.
Right. How do I describe your role as Carmen Gear? Camp, really?
Well, I think that would probably be the word, wouldn't it? I mean, out of all the parts that I've done, and there have been some camp ones in there, this probably is the campus, was the campus, yeah.
Do you think when you kind of started out doing Telefunny, which was the Thin Blue Line, and then you did the Ab Fab bits, and then you ended up with Gimme, 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 this kind of naturally led to it? You were the obvious person to do this role.
Well, I guess so. I guess from the Ab Fab, especially because it all started with the Ab Fab role, and he was especially camp, and then they go, oh, that camp guy would be good for this, and so it does all lead on. I mean, you do tend to get stuck into a bit of a mire, but that breaks itself at some point or another, and hopefully it's starting to happen now.
Did it bother you at the time when you're in the middle of Gimme, Gimme, Gimme that you thought you'd never get rid of that tag, that you are that character?
Yeah, I never thought I was that character, but I always thought I would never get rid of that tag, ever. No.
It's so funny, isn't it? It's that kind of duplex between something being so popular and you being so great at being popular in that role, and then having to leave it behind. Because really, I mean, for a guy who watched it and found it hysterically funny, we wanted you to make more and more and more. Where do you draw the line as to, no, enough already?
Well, I think we drew the line. I think, by saying, we did 3 series and that was enough. I mean, we could have gone on and on, but I'm sure it would have gone downhill after a while. I mean, it was only Jonathan writing all of them, and that's a lot of work to do. To write 6 episodes by yourself, so I think it'd naturally come to its end, and I think we were all right to say goodbye to them at that point.
Kathy Burke hasn't really done any TV since, and I know she's even stopped acting and stuff, really.
Well, she's directing. She's been very, very busy directing. She's her play Smaller with Dawn French and Alison Moyer is just opened. She's been, I know, very, very busy. It's been very hard to see her, but that's what she wants to concentrate on at the moment.
But that almost seems like a shame to me. If you've been blessed with that ability to make people laugh and to be so good as an actress, she may be brilliant as a director and as a producer, but actually it seems a shame that we can't see her anymore.
Well, I don't think she's done it forever. I mean, I think, she came to a point where she felt she needed to, explore the directing side and the producing side. But she, as you say, she's amazing at it. She's also an incredibly talented writer. So she might go on to explore that. I just think at this point in her life, this is what she wanted to do. And she has never said never. I mean, she might come back and do something. In fact, she probably will come back and do something. But it's just for the moment, she's incredibly happy, exploring this new side to her life.
The question I've got to ask you is one that I suppose most people want me to ask. Gimme, 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 if they offered you a new script, would you consider it?
Yes, if Kathy and Jonathan were both on board, yes, of course I would consider it. Yeah, absolutely.
I think my favourite has to be the Sue Pollard one.
Oh, yes.
That was perfect casting. I presume that just took 2 seconds to think of who could be her sister.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was Sue Pollard, and then when she had the new hairstyle, it was Lisa Tarbuck, but just because of the hair. Yeah.
You're an actor, which is quite different, isn't it? Because you're not a stand-up comedian. So do you actually enjoy being funny?
Well, I enjoy being funny when, like you say, the difference between stand-up comedian and myself. Stand-up comedian is sort of whether they do a character or not, as think up being things and being funny the whole time. Whereas I'm not at all, unless I've got a script and. I rehearse it with a writer or something. So there is that big difference. I mean, I have to turn it on, whereas some people are naturally very amusing.
Did you find it easy doing those roles like in The Thin Blue Line and Gimme, 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 or is it harder being funny than being serious?
I think it's harder being funny. Well, I just always seem to find, you work, and I don't mean this as, disrespect to other actors, but I mean, to be funny in that high octane comedies that certainly I've done a lot of, it takes a lot of energy. If you haven't got the energy there in the first place, nobody's going to laugh at you. So yeah, I do find it's pretty draining.
Explain to me what this is, because it's a funny play, but you've got kind of a serious role.
Well, it is a very funny play, but I suppose the role I'm playing is he's the quieter one. He's the more cynical one. He's the sardonic. It's about basically a school reunion that happens for men over the 40 plus, let's say, and they all get together in this sort of Cambridge-like environment, and they go over the old days. And I mean, I won't give away what happens in the plot, but you can imagine they get drunk and things happen. So my character is much more the quiet one. So it's completely unlike anything that I've done before on television.
Was it mildly depressing to you when you were offered roles being the guy who was playing a student 20 years later opposed to the student itself?
Do you mean what's it like being cast older?
Yes, that's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to insult you in that manner.
Yeah, no. Well, I am getting on now. So no, I am getting on. So I don't mind that at all. It's quite shocking when you sort of think, oh God, I'm not that person anymore. You know, and plucking bits of grey out of your beard and things like that, which I'm doing now, and it's really strange. I am doing it, you know, and I'm looking around at these guys in rehearsals, and I'm thinking, but they're so much older than me, and they are, but they're not that much older than me. You know, I'm pretty nearly there. So, yeah, it is shocking. To answer your question, it's shocking and horrible.
For an actor, though, is it better being older? Because if you think about it, really, there aren't many great roles for 19-year-olds.
Well, I mean, there are. There are. You know, all the young romantic leads are all young. The Romeos and the Hamlets, they're all young. But then I was never going to be cast as a romantic lead, so I never really had that worry.
Why was that, James?
Well, I don't know. Something about my face that just isn't romantic, stuff. But. I've completely lost my train of thought now. Where was I?
See, talking about your appearance and your beauty, you see, it's just thrown you, hasn't it?
Yes, my beauty. Yeah, when that didn't work, I always look forward to getting older, and because I thought that's when the good parts would come, or that's when the character parts would come, and I guess it's what I am, I suppose, as a character actor.
Can I just shift that microphone 1 second?
Am I eating in my fingers?
No,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, so I suppose that's what I am, as a character actor. And so it doesn't really bother me in acting terms of getting much older, no.
You were in the producers for just over a year, and now you're doing this play. I mean, we don't see you much on the telly anymore. I occasionally see you on Paul O'Grady or something like that. I mean, is it a better medium for you doing the theatre?
Well, I'm about to be back on the telly. I've been away not doing the telly because I've been doing telly. I'm doing the My Hero, the new series of My Hero. And then I also filmed this... a comedy drama for ITV called Double Time, which will be shown later on in the year. It's just I don't prefer one or the other, frankly. I like going from theatre to film to television.
I mentioned to you earlier your role in The Producers and the fact that it is my favourite show, and I think the reason it's my favourite as a viewer is because it's just so outrageously spectacular, it's so over the top, it's so big. For one gag, he builds a whole new set in a different colour just for a joke. Yeah. To me, you had the best role in it because you were on stage about 4 minutes, but you stole the show in those 4 minutes. I mean, there's something good about that, or is that not the case?
Well, I don't know. About something good about being on stage for 4 minutes?
Yes,
that's marvellous. Being on stage for 4 minutes. I'm not sure that I stole it, but I mean, that's very kind of you to say, but it was a part which... did lend itself to being quite over the top, and it was written like the arm movement. Sorry for those of you who haven't seen the show, but there is an arm movement in it which has sort of become quite legendary now. But that's great if you can be on stage for 4 minutes and have this outrageous character. No, that's a good thing.
It is the scene that steals the show, where they sing "Keep It Gay," and you have your partner. I think it's Roger Elizabeth Debris.
Yes, Elizabeth Debris.
And you're his common law assistant.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes,
I don't quite know what that means, but it still makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And then you go into this song "Keep It Gay"
with an amazing cast, and yes, I'd definitely go and say. Listen, I've been in it for a year. I'm jaded. don't listen to me.
I mean, it is bigger than any other show in the West End, really, isn't it? In terms of set and production and the big numbers.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Do you prefer something a bit smaller? I mean, do you prefer a play opposed to a musical? Does that bother you?
Well, I prefer the show that I'm doing now, Donkey's Years, which I haven't got in yet. So there we go, Donkey's Years at the Comedy. Yeah, I do prefer. I must say, I do prefer smaller plays. I do prefer sort of knockabout comedies or serious drama, but I do prefer it on a smaller scale. Those big musicals you can do once every 5 years, and then that's about it.
That's enough, is it?
That is enough.
And life as an actor, then? I mean, is it like being a student? You kind of sleep until 4 p.m, and then mince into work, and perhaps do 2 hours on stage, and then go for drinks and dinner, and then get home.
Yeah,
I mean, what is it like?
That's exactly our life. We don't do anything. No, we do. We work very hard, actually. to put a play on like this, takes every day intense rehearsals, lots and lots of doing it again and again, getting it wrong. I mean, it's deceptive, the amount of work that does go into something, especially if it's a bit like a farce where you have to learn coming in and out of doorways, dropping all that type of thing. It takes a lot of work, actually.
The critics in the West End are interesting because I was reading, you just mentioned Smaller earlier, and I think the Evening Standard cruelly wrote, this show will run and run and run, hopefully out of the West End. If you get a review like that, do you take it personally or do you just leave it at the door of the production?
Well, I mean, obviously you take it personally because if they're writing particularly about you, you take it personally. But, I guess the thing about theatre critics is at least all the theatre critics in London can do it and have been doing it for a very long time. So at least you're dealing with people who go to the theatre a lot. I would much rather be reviewed by someone like that than some 19-year-old kid who writes for some crap, some rubbish magazine and says, "Oh yeah, thumbs up, go and see it." And they've got no idea about film, so I'd much rather be reviewed by somebody who knows what they're talking about. So yes, sometimes it hurts, but then when you get a good one, you go, "Oh look, I got a good review." So, do you know what I mean?
Is this the job that you were always intended to do, really? Do you think you were put on the planet to act? I mean, the camp stuff that I referred to earlier, I mean, you're just so brilliant at, and I'm sure that kind of bothers you in a way that kind of people think that's all you can do. You become stereotyped, but you seem so extrovert when you're doing that, and you're so natural at it. There aren't many people who seem to have such an affinity with being funny.
Well, I think sort of, I do kind of believe that, you're born with a funny bone, and whatever it is, you don't learn it. I mean, you can hone technical things, but you can't, it's not something I can learn, or I could never impart what I know to somebody else. I could never, because I don't know what it is. I think, when I sort of realised at an early age I could, make some people laugh. It's an amazing gift, and you use that gift. It can get you out of a lot of trouble. It can also get you into a lot of trouble. But I sort of do think that acting was what I really was, what I was here for. It's the only thing that made sense to me, and I couldn't do anything else. So.
Is there any dream role? I mean, is there anything left to do that's going at the moment that you'd like to do?
Well, I'd love to play some of the Shakespeare villains. I played Cassius in Julius Caesar about years ago, and I loved that. I'd love one day to do Iago from Othello.
I think you'd be marvellous as the Phantom of the Opera, something like that.
Oh, well, there you go. There's another one.
James Dreyfus, it's always nice to see you. And go and see this new play. It's on at the Comedy Theatre. It's called Donkey's Years. And it opens when?
27th of April previews, and opens on the 9th of May.
How nervous do you get at this point, or is it still open?
Extremely nervous.
Really? Is that why you're shaking now? Is it just because of the booze?
Quaking. Yeah. That's the booze.
Listen, good to talk to you. Good luck with the new show. Donkey's Years is on at the Comedy Theatre. James, thank you.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk.